Hello, everyone. I am Joe Noorlander, author of Enchanted Love. Welcome to my very first ever video vlog. Also, welcome to my writing desk. This is where it all happens. This is where I sit down and write all my thoughts and all my stories and novels. I'm starting these video vlogs so that my fans and readers can get an inside look on what goes into making some of my most amazing stories, as well as get a better idea of who I am and some of my likes and dislikes. And one of the things that I dislike is being on camera. So I'm sorry if I feel a little nervous and stumble a little bit with my words. Like I said, I'm not a camera person, don't like being on camera that much. I'm just that kind of guy. But I'm getting out of my comfort zone to give you guys this sneak peek and to give all you guys this chance to learn and to grow and to just get to know me a little bit better. Because I feel that these videos will help peel back the layers and help everyone to see what it takes to make an amazing story and to just follow your dreams, follow your passions. Because writing and storytelling is one of my greatest passions. I absolutely adore writing. I absolutely adore it. But that wasn't always the case. I remember growing up struggling so much with reading and writing. In fact, when I was a senior in high school, I still had about a fifth grade reading level. I struggled with it so much, it's not even funny. But one of the things that I also love doing, especially growing up, is telling stories. I always told stories. I always shared stories, campfire stories. When I was camping with my friends, stories just came to me naturally. My parents always told me that I had a very active imagination. And growing up, I wondered what could I do with this active imagination. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I discovered, you know what? I could write these stories down. I could write these creative ideas down, and maybe others can enjoy them too. So I started writing in high school, but I didn't develop my passion for writing until I became a senior in high school. When I was a senior in high school, like I said, something in my head just clicked, and I went from a fifth grade reading level to reading at a normal level. And I just started working harder and harder to write my stories. My very first story that I wrote was over 500 pages long. And I finished it, and I started, like I said, I started this story in high school. It started off being just a small, simple story at first, a short story, but then the more I wrote, the more I practiced, the more it grew. And the more it grew, it became such a wonderful story. So much so that I wanted desperately to get it published. But the world wasn't ready for it, apparently. Because anytime I tried to get it published, I sent it to an editor, and the editor told me, this story is way too long. You need to cut this story back. You need to really trim the fat. And I thought, this person is downright crazy. I'm not cutting anything out of this story. This is a wonderful, fantastic story. And so started my long pursuit of my writing career, trying to find stories that people would read, people would enjoy. I still have my very first story stored away somewhere so that one day I will get it printed and one day I will get it published. But right now, I'm just trying to get my feet wet in this writing community and in the world of writing. And believe it or not, my first story wasn't Enchanted Love. My first story was actually a little children's book that I wrote about me and an adventure that I had raising a little raccoon that we saved. And if you want to learn more about that, you'll just have to read the book. Because it is a wonderful, heartfelt story, in my opinion, about the struggles it was for me raising this rambunctious, cute, adorable, yet mischievous little raccoon while dealing with another thing that happened when I was 17. I was diagnosed with CRPS in my left leg. And again, you'll learn more about that in this children's book about me and my little raccoon and and like I said, the struggles that I had dealing with CRPS. And I'll just do a quick traction detour, whatever you want to call it, and give you a brief idea of what CRPS is. CRPS is known as chronic regional pain syndrome. Like I said, I was diagnosed with this when I was 17 years old. And pretty much what it means is the nerves in my left leg are broken. And for the longest time, I was in constant pain. And you could say that this also pushed me to become a writer and use my talent for storytelling to make a career out of it. Because for the longest time, growing up, I wanted to be a herpetologist. And I was planning on going to college and studying in this field so that I can one day fulfill that dream of doing so much wonderful things with reptiles and amphibians. Because that's what a herpetologist is, for those that don't know. A herpetologist is somebody that studies reptiles and amphibians, which is also one of my passions. And like I said, growing up, I wanted to be a herpetologist. But then when I was diagnosed with this condition, chronic regional pain syndrome, it put a stamper on that idea because I was just in constant pain. So much pain that it was hard for me to do anything, let alone go traipsing through swamps and traipsing through the fields to locate and study reptiles and amphibians in their natural environment and natural habitat. So you could say that this condition helped me find a new passion, which was writing. And like I said, if you want to learn more about it, please feel free to go and find my book, The Adventures of Sly the Raccoon, as well as Walking with One of God's Creatures. It's a 2-for-1 book. It's 2 stories in one, where it talks about me, my biography of raising this raccoon, and a little bit more of my CRPS, as well as a fictional part of the story where it's told from Sly's point of view. With that being said, let's go back to what inspired me to write Enchanted Love and other books. So, like I was saying earlier, I started writing story after story because my first novel that I wanted to get published wasn't getting me anywhere. Nobody wanted to give it the chance. Nobody wanted to work with me to help get this vision off the ground. So I started writing other books. And because all these stories came to my mind, all these wonderful ideas came to my mind, and I started writing story after story and ended up stopping writing those stories because in my mind it ended in the same result. Once I started breaking a certain amount of pages, it's like, oh, this book's becoming too long too. And I try to find proofreaders and other people that would give me a chance to say, hey, why don't you read this book? Tell me what you think of it. And they ask, well, how long is it? It's like, well, currently it's about X amount of pages. Oh, that's way too long. We're not reading that. Sorry. So it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's write another story. And it wasn't until that shortly after my daughter was born that I felt inspired to write a fairy tale made just for her and just for her mother. A story that could help her understand the true meaning of love and the true meaning of friendship. And the more I pondered on this idea, it's like, yes, I need to write this story for my sweet little daughter and for her mother. I started devoting a lot of time and attention to this one story. And within a few short months, I was finished with this novel. And it was roughly about 250 so pages. And once again, I'm trying to reach out to people saying, hey, I need to get this book out there. I need to get this book published. This is a gift for my wife and daughter. Can you please help me get it into print? And I found one publishing company willing to publish it, but it turned out to be a scam. And what I mean by that is when I gave them my book to publish, they took my book and completely butchered it. They completely destroyed it. Because when I went and read what they printed, what they wanted printed, and what they released on the Kindle version, entire sentences were missing, entire paragraphs were missing, where the whole book just didn't make any more sense. So I had to go back, get it off ebooks, saying, okay, guys, you need to give me my money back because you guys have just destroyed my book. This is not the book I gave you to print. I don't know what this is. This is garbage. And then they ghosted me, and I wanted to do a lawsuit on them, but unfortunately, around that time, I was also diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So I figured, you know what? I need to deal with that first. And dealing with cancer helped me realize, you know what? There's other important things. I, I lost thousands and thousands of dollars because I trusted this publishing company with one of my most precious stories, and they botched the job and destroyed it. But you know what? Try, Tried to follow also my Christian background, turn the other cheek, let it go, move on. And so that's what I did. I turned that other cheek, I moved on, and said, okay, let me see what they butchered and destroyed. And I had to rewrite, reread, and fix my story once again. And once again, I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this book out there? How am I going to get this book released? Because this book that was supposed to be out years ago has met, like I said, detours, sidelines. A book that I started writing when my little girl was just a few months old. Now my little girl's almost 3, 4 years old at this point in time. And it's like, and yet her special gift is still not out there. So what am I going to do? Finally, I buckled down and said, you know what? I'm going to self-publish this. And so I started working hard to self-publish this book. Is like, if no one else is going to give me the chance, I'm going to self-publish this book, and I'm going to give this special gift to my wife and to my daughter, because that's what it is for. It's for them. And I will not fail this time. I will not let another one of my stories just sit on my computer collecting data and collecting dust. Nope. This one is going to get out there. I am going to be bound and determined to get this story out there. And so I went and got this story out there by myself. There's only one illustration in the book that I didn't do myself. I did all the illustrations, and I am not an artist by any means. I fiddled around a lot with computer programming and computer stuff. I'm good with computers, so I was able to take certain images and take certain things and create the illustrations that you see in my book, except for one. One illustration came from one of my good friends from high school that knew I had a passion for writing and heard that I was writing a book and he wanted to help out. And I said, well, I need an illustration for this character that I'm writing in my book. Do you think you could deliver? And so on the very last illustration of Xeonox, that was done by him. He completely blew me away with that illustration. It's like, yes, this is the illustration that I'm looking for. This is exactly what I need. Thank you so much. So he helped with that illustration, but was unable to help me with other illustrations because he had to do work and other stuff. But I was so grateful for that one illustration, and it inspired me to create my own illustrations. So, like I said, most of Enchanted Love was done by me at the very beginning. I first self-published it, and when I finally first self-published it, and finally got people to read it, they were amazed by it. My own father read the story, and he was just dumbfounded. He turns to me and is like, "You wrote this book?" I'm having a hard time to believe my son, that I knew struggled with reading and writing for the longest time, wrote this book. This feels like someone professional, like someone really professional wrote this book. Son, I think you have a bestseller here. And it's starting to become that. Because shortly after getting it self-published and having a few sales, because that was one of the struggles, it's like, okay, now that I have this book published, how do I get it out there? How do I get people to read it? Because I know once they read it, they're going to love it. And so I started doing many different things. One of the things that I did was I created my own book trailer. Because, like I said, at this point in time, in this stage of Enchanted Love's history, I was all on my own. Everything had to come through me. I did everything myself. So I created book trailers. I tried to do events. I even did a talent show. I went to a talent show and introduced my book at the talent show. And I read the very first page at that talent show. And so many people at that talent show loved the book, especially the kids. Just that first page sparked their interest. They wanted to read more. They wanted to know what happened next, just with that first page. And I got 10 sales that night from that book. I wasn't intending to sell any books. I just wanted to spread the word, say, hey, everyone, I have published a book. I have a book right here. I want you all to read it one of these days. And not only did they love it, but they bought it. And it wasn't too long after that talent show, too long that after that I started, advertising and pushing more, trying to get my book more out there, that a member from Penguin Random House contacted me saying, hey, we see this book. It looks interesting. We want to help you mass produce this book and spread it farther and wider than what you're currently able to do with just your own means. And for a while, again, I was hesitant at first because I already got scammed by one publishing team, so-called publishing team, I should say. And they were really kind, patient with me, and they shared their thoughts, their ideas, and gave me a contract. They really waited for me to be ready for this. It's like, you know what? I'm ready to give Enchanted Love what it deserves. And so that's what I did. I partnered with Penguin Random House, and it's been such an amazing experience to work with them. They not only improved my cover, because like I said, I had to do everything myself, meaning I had to design the cover myself. So there's a first cover design. Like if you go to Amazon right now and see the Kindle version, you'll see the original cover that I designed on the Kindle version. But then you go to the paperback and hardcover copy. That's what Penguin Random House helped me do. They helped me fulfill the cover of my dreams, the cover that I wanted in the very beginning. If I had any artistic talent, that's what I would have wanted in the very beginning. That cover that Penguin Random House delivered. And so I've partnered with them, and it's been such a wonderful experience partnering with them. And it's just been amazing to see me selling books a little here and a little there to friends and family to now so many people are reading the book and so many people are wanting the book. It's been a wonderful and an amazing experience. And that's where it is true what they say, that dreams can come true, that if you have the passion, keep pressing forward and keep doing it. If you keep at it, sooner or later, good things will happen. And if you keep working at it, that sooner or later, it will get recognized, it will get noticed, and people will start recognizing, and people will start noticing you. And that's one of the most amazing things about this experience. So much so that it's given me a bigger drive to write my other books. I have another book ready for print. I'm just waiting for Enchanted Love's hype to cool down just a little bit before I start trying to get this other book published. I'm also currently working on another story, because that's one of the things that you'll get to know from me from these video vlogs. Is one of the things that I have a hard time doing is sitting still. I'm always wanting to do something. I can't just sit idly and do nothing. I'm always doing something, especially when it comes to writing. I am always trying to find the next story to write. And like I said, I'm wanting to get people used to my type of writing and used to my writing style. Because Enchanted Love is not one of my biggest books, but it's not a bad sized book. Like I said, it's about 257 pages, but it's not my longest book. And again, I want people to get used to these smaller novels, these smaller books first, before I am ready to share my grand novels, my grand adventures with everyone. And the more people read and the more people that get excited about my stories, the more likely I'm going to share all my stories with the world and find a way to get them out there and to get them printed. So I hope that this has been enlightening, and hopefully it's, like I said, it's been a little, I hope it's been a little enlightening, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed this video so far. It didn't, this was supposed to be an introduction to me and my life, but it grew into telling the telling of how Enchanted Love came to be and how it's becoming a wonderful success. So I'll probably have to do a few other videos to give you an idea of who I am and a little bit more about me. But I hope you've enjoyed this very first video and got to get a little insight of what made Enchanted Love such an amazing story. This is Joe Noorlander signing off for now.